Anyone up for some sailing on land? Because the latest version of the Audi land yacht is here, also known as the Q7.
Hello!
This is the largest car in Audi's range, and my 91-year-old dad saw this car the other day and actually commented that he thought it looked a little bit like a Bentley. And you know what, he's not entirely wrong. It actually does share a platform with the Bentley Bentayga. But what's the new Q7 like to live with? Let's find out.
The 2020 Q7 is a refresh and not a new model. On the outside there's a new grille, redesigned headlights with sequential indicators, and the rear has picked up new lights and a nice chrome strip joining them together.
Is it a turn-back car, a car so good looking that you have to turn back and look at it after you've parked it? You'd probably mostly be turning back to look to make sure you'd parked it correctly just because it's so big. But the interior is just drop-dead gorgeous with brand new integrated screens and new air vents that run across the entire length of the dashboard here. Looks like something out of the 1970s, but here it just really works. The top screen handles all of the car's major functions as well as the navigation system. The bottom one does climate control and can also switch to a handwriting pad which you use to input your destination for the nav system, and it actually works really well. The graphics on all three screens are razor sharp and are amongst the best you'll find in any car. But of course, with all these screens and piano black finishes, that means
fingerprints.
Inside, you'll find Valcona leather all over the seats. It's very nice and soft. The seats are extremely comfortable and power adjusted in the front. The steering wheel is actually a little on the small side, I think, and it took me a little while to get used to this flat bottom, but after a few days, I've actually really grown to like it. One thing that is a little bit lacking though is storage space. I mean, here in the center, we've got a cordless phone charger, but it's very shallow and there's only a tiny bit of room next to that. There is a little cubby next to the steering wheel just down here. The door pockets are quite deep, but beyond that, there really isn't any more storage.
Something my kids love to get me to change for them almost every time we get in the car after dark is the ambient interior lighting colour. Another cool feature is the ability to look at any one of the several cameras dotted around the car to check for clearance in tight spaces. And you can also look at a virtual version of the car from a floating camera outside.
The Q7 is almost 2 metres wide, which means that in theory you could lie down and have a little bit of a sleep here on the back seat. It's a little bit like what happens when you have a long-haul international flight in economy and you score those 3 seats that are next to each other and no one else is there. Kind of like that, but even better because you can actually look through the panoramic roof and stare at the stars. But there is plenty of room here in the Q7 for regular seating as well. In fact, as you can see, I'm nowhere near touching my own seating position, and I'm 190 centimetres tall. Plenty of knee room, plenty of foot room, plenty of headroom. 4-zone climate control here in this car, so rear passengers can control their own temperature and fan speed. 2 USB outlets as well. And something very curious that I don't think I've seen in a car for the last 20 years, and that is an ashtray here in the armrest. In fact, my kids asked me the other day what that was for, and I had to look twice because I swear I've not seen one in a car for at least 20 years. The Q7 has a capacious rear end with 1,955 litres of cargo space in 5-seater mode and just 295 litres in 7-seater mode. And it also has a flat loading steel plate here, so it's easy to get things in and out. And you can make it even easier still by adjusting the air suspension with this button here and watch the car go down and then come back up. I could do this all day.
The raising and lowering of the third row of seats are also controlled by buttons in the boot, making it very easy to accommodate extra passengers.
This model of the Q7 is a 50 TDI. 50 not really meaning anything other than the fact that it's more powerful than the 45 version. TDI, turbo diesel. It's a V6 engine with a 3-litre displacement, outputting 210 kilowatts of power and an impressive 600 Newton meters of torque, and it will sprint to 100 kilometers per hour in just 6.5 seconds. Oh yeah! Fuel consumption is 6.8 litres per 100 kilometres, and according to the gauge down here, you'll get almost 1,000 kilometres on just one tank. This isn't a performance machine, it's a luxury family cruiser that can do some cool stuff. So there's not really a massive difference between the various drive modes, but I will say that the steering in comfort mode does feel a little bit vague and a bit disconnected to the road. I prefer it in dynamic, where it's almost a bit too heavy, but you at least feel like you're actually really in control. Like a lot of large SUVs, you do ride up quite high, but I've actually got my seating position quite low in the cabin, so I don't feel as high, but there is still a bit of that sort of vague, floaty kind of feeling you get, especially on corners. There is so much customization and personalization available with this car. When you first get it, you could spend an hour or two just going through all the menus and changing all the settings and getting things just the way you want it, and then go and change it again later when you discover you don't like it that way and you want to do something different. I've noticed that the Q7 seems to be very popular with hire car drivers and tour operators. I've seen quite a few hire car and tour vehicle number plates on Q7s over the last few days. And it's easy to see why, because it is such a comfortable ride. It's an easy car to drive from a driving point of view. I could quite happily spend hours in here. In fact, a friend of mine who's an Uber driver says that his favorite car to drive is a Q7. Starting at $119,900 and as spec'd here, $123,800, the new Audi Q7 is the very pinnacle of modern day family motoring with great style, great technology and terrific fuel economy.